Colossians, the first chapter, verses 15 to 24. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he may have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him all the fullness should dwell, and by him to reconcile all things to himself, whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made peace through the blood of his cross. And you who once were alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now he has reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and blameless and above reproach in his sight. Since indeed you continue in the faith, grounded and steadfast, and are not moved away from the hope of the gospel which you heard, which was preached to you, to every creature under heaven, of which I, Paul, became a minister.
Morning, ECF. I want to ask just a few of the stewards to come up and just help me out quickly. I need them to hand out some paper to some special people. So just a few of the stewards. Just want to come hand a few pieces. So the stewards are going to hand out to some kids. Please hand out to some kids and anyone you deem a child as well. I'll let them. And hopefully you got a pen. If you don't have a pen, you can borrow. You'll need that just now. But let me start with this. And I'm speaking to some of the kids or some of the younger ones. Let me ask you this. Did your dad or your mom, when they were coming to church today or even yesterday when they were dealing with traffic, were they moaning and complaining a little bit? You can just raise your hand if they were doing that. My kids are raising their hands. Okay, that's not good. Okay. But maybe there's a bit of moaning, complaining because things were a bit slow. For those who've been on a plane, had that privilege of going on the plane, maybe you complained about the seats that you sit on, that it's too close, that you don't have enough leg room, it's really uncomfortable. And I'm the same. I do the exact same thing. But I heard a comedian a while back, and he said something interesting that I think we can apply to our modes of transport. He says, we complain when we get on the plane because of the leg room and it's being uncomfortable, but what we really should be doing should be going, oh my word, we're flying. We're in a metal tube and we are in the air. It should blow our mind. If we were in medieval times, they would think we were magicians. For those who are struggling and imagine 100 years back, to get to church, you would have had to get the buggy, put the horse on the buggy, and hope the horse has eaten enough so that you can get to church. You wouldn't be waking up at 9:15 to get to church at 9:30. You'd be waking up really early in the day. All these things we take for granted, don't we? We forget the significance of what we have in our lives because we just have them all the time. We get to plane, we get to drive. We don't really think about the car. They've lost significance to us. I think the same can be said of Christmas, can't it? Because we experience Christmas every year, and it kind of loses a little bit of significance. We know it's important. We know we should at least acknowledge it properly, but it's lost a bit of that significance. When we wake up on Christmas Day, we aren't going, oh, yes, this is the day Jesus took on flesh. More what we're thinking is, oh my word, the kids woke up at 5 a.m. It's kind of lost its significance a bit. And so this morning, what I would like us all to do is to remember how amazing Christmas really is and how wonderful it is that Jesus, God, took on flesh. And so that's what we're going to do this morning. And we're going to follow in the text that was just read to us from Colossians chapter 1. But what I want you to do first, so the kids that have pieces of paper and anyone else who's got a piece of paper, what I would like you to do is I would like you on your piece of paper to create a world, your own world. It has to have a few people in it, but I want you to create whatever you want. Create that world now. Quickly draw a nice little world for yourself. And I'll do the same. For those who don't have pieces of paper, you're going to have to use your imagination. But I really want you to go through that process of drawing something in your mind. Okay, hopefully you all got something. I am not known for being an artist, so luckily most of you can't see this. But you got two little people, a mountain that looks a little bit like Table Mountain, and some clouds. Yes, there's a cloud in the background. But I've created my own little world. Okay, it took me a few moments, but I created my world. I want you to hold onto that. And I want you to think about what it was like for God, and specifically Jesus Christ, to create the world. Now, we've only taken a couple of seconds, but with God, He just spoke it into being. We had God the Father and Jesus Christ. They spoke this world into being. And as you go back into your text, you'll see it there in verse 15. It says, "He is the image of the invisible God," speaking about Jesus Christ, the firstborn of all creation. Not saying that Jesus was created, but He was the first, the most important. He is over creation. And then it says, "For by Him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible." So as you think about it, everything that exists in this world was created by Jesus Christ. It was created through Jesus Christ. Things that are visible and things that are invisible were created by God. I just want you to let that sit for a bit, just a moment. Just as you drove in this morning, the things that you didn't really think about, didn't really look at the mountain, didn't necessarily look at the sky, those were all created for you. I think sometimes we forget how wonderful creation really is. I have some Australian cousins, they're up for Christmas. But the first time they came to South Africa, and this was in Johannesburg, they're from a city called Perth, which is pretty flat. And when we were driving on the road, they said, "Wow, look at this amazing mountain." And we were like, no, that's a hill. But for them, they were blown away because they hadn't seen it in a while. How many of us, when driving past the mountains in Cape Town, they don't have that same significance anymore, do they? They've kind of lost that flair because we just see them all the time. Yet we should be blown away that they came from nothing. In the same way, God created everything. Jesus Christ created everything. And if I jump down to verse 19 of Colossians 1, it says, "For in Him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell." This is the picture here, that Jesus Christ is fully God in every way. He is exactly like God the Father. As God the Father is all-powerful, so is Jesus Christ. As God the Father is all-knowing, so is Jesus Christ. As God the Father is everywhere present, so is Jesus Christ. And so God created this wonderful world. And now as you hold your picture, kids and people who are thinking about it, you look at your world that you've created in front of you. And maybe as you look at it, because you're a far better artist than me, you go, this is good. It's good. Just as God the Father said, it is good. And He's created man. He said it is good. And as you look at your picture, you go, wow, the people I've created, they're good. Now, I want you to imagine this for a moment. As you look at your picture that you drew, the picture that you imagined those little people there in your picture. If they thought, you know what? You didn't create this. It came from nothing. You know what, Dave? I don't really like what you've created. I don't really like this other person that you've created for me. You know what, in fact, that axe that you made for me to go chop down a tree, I think I might use it on the other person. Hey, you know the words that you gave me to spoke? You know what? I think, I'm going to use those to lie. So the people on your picture that you thought were good, the people that you created a whole entire world for, now don't like you, don't care for you, don't want you. And as we go into our text, we see this as well. It says of us that we were people who did not really believe. We were, in verse 21, we were once alienated and hostile in mind, doing evil deeds. That's who we were. So now, as a person looking at your picture, seeing the people that have done bad things, what is the easiest thing for you to do? The easiest thing for you to do with that picture is and start again. Isn't it? You don't like that picture? You don't like those people? Let's just start again. It'll be so much easier. Notice God and Jesus Christ could have done the exact same thing. He could have started again. As He looked at you and the evil that you have done, the bad things that you have done, He could have started again. But our God is so great and so loving, He didn't start again. Rather, as He looked at these people and this picture that didn't believe, what instead He did is what we then see in verse 18. As it speaks of Jesus, and He is the head of the body of the church, He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that everything He might be preeminent. And as you go a little bit later, verse 20, and through Him to reconcile whether or in heaven, making peace by the blood of His cross. So, what God did instead, and I want you to think about this for yourself, as He looked at the picture, and you, a 3D person, look at your 2D picture. Now I want you to think this. You know what? In order to help these two people, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that picture myself. I created this, but I'm going to go into the picture. A 3D person becoming 2D. One who is far greater than anything of this paper. A paper that I can throw away. I'm going to go in. And you know what? Even more than that, I'm going to take my boy, my firstborn, and I'm going to send him to these people. And these people won't believe him, won't accept him. But I'm going to send him. He's going to become like these people. He's going to live perfectly. And you know what these people are going to do to him? They're going to kill him. And for me, that will be good. Because it will save these people. We forget the significance of what Jesus Christ did on Christmas when he took on flesh. He was a God who is all-powerful. In him, all the fullness of God dwelt. He could have just stayed there. But instead, what he decided to do for Christmas, he decided to take on flesh, become like us. People who are time-bound, he became time-bound. God took on flesh, and then what even more than that, lived with the people, loved, and died for those people, when the easier thing would be to throw the paper away. That's what Jesus Christ did. The wonder of Christmas, what we should be going, God, I don't understand, should be, why? Why would you come to earth for me? Kids, you should be asking that same question. You should be asking, why did Jesus come to earth for me? Parents, why did Jesus come to earth for you? The only answer is because he loved you more than you could ever love yourself. And he loved you so much that he died on a cross and was risen to new life for you. We should be blown away by Christmas. And so what I'd like each of you to do today, as you think about Christmas, to give it a little bit more significance for you today, is that every time someone says Merry Christmas to you, or Happy Christmas, or Blessed Christmas, when anyone mentions that word Christmas, let it have weight. Give yourself a moment of pause to think about what Christmas really means, that Jesus took on flesh. Almost do a count to 5 if you can. It'll be a bit weird after the service. But if Dave Hallett comes to you and goes, Happy Christmas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Happy Christmas to you, Dave. And in those 5 seconds to think about, Jesus loved me so much that he took on flesh for me. And maybe that'll change your response. For those who have already believed and know Jesus Christ, I pray today is a blessed Christmas for you. But blessed because you remember how important Jesus Christ's coming to earth is. For those who do not yet know Jesus Christ, the beauty of this and the connection to it's a free gift. A gift that you need to bring nothing to. A gift that all you need to do is just believe. And go, I believe, Jesus, that you came to earth and died for me, someone who did not deserve it. Let us bring significance to Christmas this year. Let Christmas not merely just be a piece of paper, but let it be so significant that the weight of it sits on us. Because God saw significance in us that he entered that piece of paper for you and I. Let me close in prayer. As I do this, I'd ask the music team to come up. Father, thank you for the wonder and amazement that your Son, Jesus Christ, as we read, the firstborn, the one who is greater than everyone else, the one who is in fact God, thank you that he decided to take on flesh for us. Father, forgive me for how often I just let Christmas pass me by and forget how significant it is. Forgive me for how I am not overjoyed and hopeful every Christmas remembering that your Son took on flesh. I pray for each person here that you would forgive them as well, and that they would remember this. As they go out into the world, let them be people who are changed by Christmas, not because of a gift that they receive, or because of a tree, or a hug that they receive from someone, but let them be changed because they remember that your Son, Jesus Christ, took on flesh for us. I pray, Father, now that we would worship wholly and completely with all our being to you. In your Son's great name, Jesus Christ, and by the power of your Holy Spirit. Amen.